Hey everybody, this is Claire, and this is Small Joyful Things. As always, I go to thrift stores, or I go to estate sales, or sometimes I buy things from Craigslist, and I'm always looking for things that I find interesting, or that I think you guys would find interesting. And here's what I've got today. So, this is quite small, and I really hope it's actually going to show properly on the camera. I'm wondering that the light that I've got is going to kind of wash it out a bit. What we have here is a hand-painted trinket box. It's made of porcelain, and it is unmarked, I'm afraid. I'm going to take it just to show you guys the actual lid here. This is entirely done by hand. Like, it doesn't, I actually picked it up and I could have sworn that it was transferware or something. And I ended up looking at it more closely because I could see the tiny little signature here and realized that it is actually all hand painted. And nicely enough, they didn't kind of go overboard with this. They kind of just left the body of it pink and then went around the edge of here with pink with a little bit of that gilding, and then left the underside exactly as it is. And then just basically put all their effort into putting these lovely, delicate little flowers in this, I gotta say, a very nice kind of impressionist kind of style kind of thing. They were very kind of like, you know, careful with it. Let's see if you can show you the signature. It says A. Cerny, and there might have been a date there, but I'm afraid that it just doesn't look like anything. So we can't use that as a date. We can't use that as a reference, which is bothersome. But you know, well, again, them's the breaks when you're dealing with stuff in the thrift store. So I'm actually going to do this separately. I'll just measure them up. So we have the lid. It's about just say 4 3/4 inches across, and then that's 3 1/4 inches that way. And this is going to be a little bit smaller because it actually comes over a little bit. So 4 1/4 inches like that. And then not quite, like say 2.8, I want to say, inches. Yeah. And let's just measure the height as well. Like 1.5 inches high at most. It's quite a small little thing. It's very much just a trinket box, the kind of thing that you use for like rings or earrings or whatever. It's not like, it's small, it's delicate, it's designed to go on somebody's dresser, that kind of thing. So big question is, like, what exactly is it? Like, what have we got going on here? Why did I pick this up? Well, I mean, I picked it up because I looked at it and thought, wow, that's porcelain, it's in lovely condition, and it's obviously been painted by someone who cared. Like, I thought that the painting on it, the imagery or whatever, was just really nice. And the fact that it had no mark on it was, you know, not an issue for me anyway. The interesting thing about it, though, is that I bought this for $3, if I remember correctly. And I looked at the base, and there was no mark on the porcelain, obviously, but there was a sticker of another thrift store underneath it with a price tag for, I think, $5 or something. So somebody bought this and then decided that they didn't want it, didn't even take the sticker off, and then just donated it back to the thrift store. And I have been wondering if it was like maybe another reseller or something, that they looked at this and figured out that, oh, I can't really actually make money on this. It's not worth my time. I'm just going to get rid of it. Because, you know, you'd be assuming you can Google that name and get something out of it. And, like, I'm sorry to say that you can't. There is no reference at all to who that might be. That is obviously a real name, obviously by a real person who had some kind of talent, I have to say. Because this is not amateur work, obviously. But as to who they are, no idea. Like, I can't, my Google foo has basically failed. There's nothing I can say about it. I do have some references, and I hope will kind of give us some hints as to what this could be and where it might come from. I don't have a whole lot to go on, unfortunately. So first of all, here's the thing. I went onto eBay and I found this, a vintage hand-painted trinket box with someone with really terrible photos, I have to say. And I have no idea what that is, and they don't say. Who knows? It's just something stuck in the inside of it. I don't really know. But this is exactly the same box, and you can see from the side here, that is exactly the same pattern. This is the same blank or whatever, it's just painted by a different person. By, obviously, Mary Lyons, who I actually feel didn't do as good a job. They didn't make as good of use of the actual space. If I'd seen this in a thrift store and I saw it, I'd be thinking, sorry, this is someone who's kind of an amateur and probably didn't know what they were doing, and I'm not digging it. But it's interesting because it gives us some more information. It says it's a vintage hand-painted lid inside signed Mary Lyons porcelain trinket box or whatever. I think it's vintage. It's very clear that it is. I don't think that was produced anytime recently anyway. But I do have some extra information here. This is not quite the same, but it has a very similar style. And jewellery box, hand-painted porcelain, round trinket box with a lid. And it says that delicate hand-painted flowers, blah, 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 scalloped edge. It was painted by a friend's aunt. Hand-painted porcelain. Now, the rest of it is neither here nor there, but if you actually go to Etsy and try to access that listing, there you go. It's obviously been sold. It's sold for about $35, which isn't, you know, that's pretty good. But do we have any other good pictures of it? Now, you can see again that rim and the fact that it's hand painted in a completely different style, bear in mind. But it's kind of a little bit similar to this, and especially the lid. The lid is the thing that gets me. That design around the edge seems very similar. So here's the thing. I get out of that. If you actually just want to look at vintage signed hand-painted porcelain trinket boxes, you'll get a lot of stuff by Limoges, or you get like other random kind of these, you know, kind of stuff that would be professionally done. And I think overall, this is not by someone professional, especially based on the other listings that I've seen. They just seem to be done by random people. I think this is a box that is vintage. I think it was painted probably sometime in the mid-20th century because it has that kind of look. And maybe around this, maybe let's say around the right time period, just based on the other listings that I've seen that have boxes that are kind of similar to this. I get the feeling that this is done by someone who did it as a hobby, as in that I know that used to be a thing, that you got porcelain and you essentially just painted whatever designs you wanted on it, and then, you know, glazed it, and then you were done. This kind of seems about right. It's kind of like for a thing that people would do just for the hell of it. Yeah, I think this seems about right. I think this is by someone who actually enjoyed what they were doing. Not a professional, but definitely had done it quite a bit. So I hope they really liked doing it, which is the important thing. And then they produced this little box. And the thing as well is the fact that it's not marked, you know, because normally if you see stuff that's like this, it would have a mark or a signature or something on the bottom, especially the pieces that were actually done by Limoges, and they would have done by actual artists. And you know, they want to actually sign their stuff to say, look, this is a Limoges piece. It was done in this particular area or whatever. And it would have things like, you know, model numbers or artist numbers or whatever. This doesn't. So generally what all of this adds up to is like done by someone who did not do it professionally, but did it as a hobby and just basically made a little porcelain piece for themselves or maybe for somebody they knew or whatever. They signed it and hopefully they were proud of it. It's very nicely done, but not professionally, just someone who did it for themselves, which is, you know, also good. It's still a small, nice little thing. Now, the other question is, what is it actually worth? Yeah, I did a quick look as to like essentially what could you get for like a small hand-painted vintage porcelain trinket box, and it really does depend on like style, shape, whatever. I paid $3 for this, and taking a quick look at some other ones here, they've sold recently. I would say $10 to $15 maybe. I hope I'd get my money back from it at least. I'm not going to keep it because, again, I have a long-standing kind of rule at this point that unless it's actually Italian art glass that I really like, I'm not going to keep stuff because otherwise I'd have no space or anything left. So this is probably going to go up on Etsy. I would say I'll put it up for maybe $25 to $30, and that's with free shipping. And then I hope someone's going to really like it because it is in excellent condition. No chips, no cracks, no nothing. It might as well have been made yesterday. And again, that design at the top, clearly done by someone who had skill and who had some experience, and I think who enjoyed what they were doing because they did a great job. So there you go. That's my small joyful thing for the day. Thanks very much for watching, guys.